Hello guys and welcome to the channel. Roll here. Today I'm finally making an update video and it's gonna be a complete build and guide in details in my PvE or overall build that I use for almost anything non-competitive. It's not gonna be of course one build for everything, not like in raids. In raid you're gonna be probably running meta, but I would like to go in every detail about why I make it, why this build this way, how it work, the gear, the rotation, the value, every detail about it. And also I would like to go in details why do I think this is the best overall ranger build in the game right now for PvE content. This is also of course gonna be timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead to specific things like the build or a specific point in discussion or the footage of fighting, anything, feel free to do that. So we're gonna start by my choices. Well, the first thing I choose for this build is a Soulbeast and a condition build. Why? This is a long discussion on condition versus power. I would like to go a little bit in it, not in full length of course, to explain why I think condition is a better option than power in PvE. For a start, you only invest in, if you're running condition, you only invest in condition and condition duration. This is where your damage comes from. So those exactly are two main sources for damage, but for power you invest in power, precision and ferocity, and that leave no room for tankiness or survivability whatsoever. Some people would believe that ranger can go full zerk and their bit can tank for them enough that they'll never be hit, but this is completely, you either used to when you die people just reviving you have no real grasp at least of the solo concept in the game, because there is multiple situations when you have to tank damage, like an AoE that huge you can just get out of it, a closed area when you have to fight in it and take damage anyway. Like in the footage you will see an example of a boss that there is damage will hit everyone in the field. If you want to solo it while you're running power, you will take damage. So the concept of simply not taking damage and the bit tanking for you is absurd to me, to be honest. I mean, this is a general idea of running tanky bit, and we're gonna get into discussion with that. But 100% of the time you take no damage, this is false. This will never happen. Another detail is when you combine with your bit in Soulbeast, when you merge, like for reviving your bit or using skills, now every mob in the field will target you. So this is a small period of time but could mean a lot of difference too. So not taking damage at all will never happen. And it comes to the point of understanding how aggro works in the game. The first point of aggro is distance. Like if I'm standing here and this is a mob, I'm too far from him, he will never attack me. But if my bit goes to him, he will attack my bit first. After that, in a specific area, he will target the highest toughness. And this is why we're running really tanky bit with different options that would have higher toughness than us, which is a major point of aggro. But if the health of your bit go down drastically, you will find a lot of mobs actually changing target to you. So vitality actually make a difference in aggroing too. I don't know the specifics because there's a lot of different things in situation, like your damage. The highest damage actually aggro if the first aggro go to your bit, but your bit is extremely low on health or completely incapacitated through immobilization or something. The mob can turn to you at this point. So there's a lot of details going to aggro, but the most important one is the highest toughness. Another detail to go into power too, I don't think that power have higher advantage than condition. It depends on the situation. If you're running around open world hitting normal mobs, like not even bronze mobs, Power will probably be a one-shot build. Like every mob gonna die with hit or two, so you finish things too fast, you move to the next and the next, and this is an advantage condition can never compare with. So that's what make it perfect for open world in most people thinking. But this is most of not what we're here for. We have a build for everything. And waiting for few seconds to build up condition and running away and doesn't even care if the mob died, because he will die and whatever loot go from him will be already in your bag, is not really a big deal. And it can be frustrating to someone who loves condition like me to hit like for 20k or whatever and have only 1% left in the mob. I need to clear this 1% with another hit, and it's just a matter of opinion or enjoyment at this point, but I don't like that. And the higher you go in the scale of mobs, like bronze, you can still be extremely strong using power build, but the more you go like for silver or a champion or legendary, the damage become almost the same. You can do a lot of damage using condition because it's stack and keep building like 10k bleed in a second, 12, 13, 14, 15, stuff like this. And you can still hit the burst from power and wait for skill to come off cooldown. You keep getting this curvature in damage with power more than condition actually. So power has no serious advantage in my opinion. Not in damage, not in survivability. There is no point of choosing power over condition. This is my opinion at least. But I don't think power is an advantage or anything. And lastly, there is a lot more mobs that can take less power damage than there is who can defend themselves against condition. Like access to protection in mobs, like in Passive Fire, is a lot more than access to resistance or condition removal. So there is defense in both sides, but against power it is more. Unlike Corteria, when every structure doesn't take condition damage, actually only after that, like Heart of Thorn or Passive Fire. And you're gonna see example of a mob that actually in Passive Fire, like Season 4, who take half the damage of power actually. So after getting the discussion of power and condition out of the way, why Soulbeast? I think this is kind of an obvious choice. Soulbeast have extra access to skills that can be chosen to do damage that no other profession has. Druid skill are healing, Core Ranger doesn't have any extra skills, only their bits can be a little bit stronger. And no matter how strong your bit, he will never compare to your own damage. And you can revive your bit on 10 seconds. Not only that, you have access to condition damage modifier by 10% extra condition damage. And this is serious. And condition duration too. So Soulbeast is out of the question, is the best to play, and I have been testing a lot of the damage and rotation different in my builds, and this concept, playing Soulbeast like this, have the highest damage of them. And actually in my testing I was soloing and kind of an easy bounty, Man-Eater I think it's called, it's a shark. You will see I reached 24% on health when another player came to fight with me, and the time was left by 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Using that's on Core Ranger. On Soulbeast I reached the same amount, 24%, completely solo, no one helped. I soloed to the end, no one came this time. But I reached 24% with 4 minutes and 55 seconds. That's a huge difference in damage, of course. And comparing the build, Soulbeast have access to better revive to the bit, easier use, single bit, but that doesn't make much difference. The Druid build you're gonna see in another video have the highest CC possible. It's kinda close for if you change your option in Soulbeast, which I'm gonna go through. But I think Druid was better at this, and Core Ranger have really good healing, stronger bits that can live for more, but that's about it. And has another problem with its weapon system, but all that gonna leave it to the next videos. So let's go starting with the build. This gonna be our build: skirmishing, wilderness survival, and Soulbeast. We're running sharpened edges. We don't run precision in this build, but we still have like a little amount of 5% here, and while we're flanking from this trait we get another 10% on critical chance, and we have access to a lot of fury. This skill give us give us 12 seconds of fury because it trigger lesser muddy terrain, as you see, and sharpened stone, quickening zephyr, and also the elite. They all give us fury, so we have a lot of access to fury. Even weapon swipe give us 5 seconds of fury. So 5% and 10% and 20% from fury, this is 35%, which is extremely low, but because we like to be tanky more, I'm only running this trade because whatever extra damage can come, it's fine. But actually you can completely remove it and use this if you need a lot of dodges, but the build is enough since it have even 25 extra percent for endurance recovery. So the whatever damage we can get is better. You can, however, change a little bit in the gear to have extra critical chance by using something like Rabbit. I would not go with Viper since it have power, and those weapons are barely effective with power. At least a short bow dagger is acceptable. So you can go with a little more precision if you want. Like I said, our weapon swipe give us swiftness and fury, and this skill 3 of quick shot give us swiftness. So like the same idea of world versus world, we get a lot of movement speed using this, and if it is removed or corrupted or crippled, we still have access to super speed, so we can kite really well and have nice movement. And you're gonna get in the discussion or the explanation of the build why I care about the idea of kiting, because the way we think in this build will be different than the last one, and this is the key feature. We're running hidden barbs, of course, for higher bleed damage, the best condition trait in the game in my opinion, bumping the damage this much, which kinda necessary for rangers since it's the main source for your damage. And light on your feet, number 1 build for PvE since we're running short bow, and short bow is the most powerful weapon for condition for rangers, to be honest. Wilderness survival, we run Child of Earth to have extra CC. It's a condition removal too, access to fury, but the CC is great to break in Defiance bar on solo, and the slow can help with even a lot of mobs doing their actions slower. It gives you more time to react and heal. It's spare you a lot of damage and stuff like this. You could go with Test for Danger. A lot of people would think this is like the normal option for PvE, but we need CC to break Defiance bar, and if we don't have this, the only things we have is this skill and this one in flanking and the elite skill, and we can run on other options for bit because this is not the only option we have, but we don't have constant CC. The idea of that is, if you use something like a stun and there is no conditions that break Defiance bar, the Defiance bar starts recovering if your skill on cooldown. But you need to prevent from recovering, so when you come off cooldown with a skill like this, or like come back at least to concussion shot, there is small portion of the Defiance bar to break through. Not that it completely came back to full and you didn't do anything. So I think in a build like this, lesser muddy terrain is necessary, like this specialization, whatever you call the entire line, have a lot of survivability into it. It gives us 25% endurance regeneration. It gives us protection on dodge for 2 seconds every dodge, which also heal us on this protection. So we would take less damage and we would heal a little bit. And we took ambidextrity for a higher condition damage and lowering the cooldown on our torch and dagger skills. And on torch dagger we even get the same amount again, so it's 120 on short bow and 240 on dagger torch. And we're running wilderness knowledge. Some people in PvE doesn't care about stun breaks and they care about condition removal, stuff like this. All what they care about is damage. This is fine, you can do it, you can change your build whatever you want, but this video is not for you. This is, like we said, a build for everything. That means we need condition removal, we need not only one stun break, which is a minimum amount, it is possible, but you need two to have the ability to keep changing your situation, surviving whatever comes. You would have the highest damage possible with the highest survivability possible, stun break, the ability to mitigate even condition, to kite, to do everything and survive every situation and kill whatever possible to come in front of you. And lastly, Soulbeast, we run Unstable Union for the removal of like the CC condition on you, but actually we've taken this to have the protection and vigor from emerging with our bit, since there is no vigor access in this build, and higher protection would take less damage and would heal you a bit. Our bit would tank for us a lot, but we would merge with it a lot too. Having quickness and fury is extremely little value comparing to vigor and protection. Especially we're not camping the beast mode, so I mean you can take it, it's okay, but the better survivability is better for me. And we have access to quickness from this skill and from quickening Zephyr, so no need. But you can run it, since we have a lot of quickness with a sense of speed, but you're gonna sacrifice a lot of survivability that I don't like. Deal more damage while you have fury, ferocious strings, completely irrelevant to us since we're conditioned. And we take Predator Cunning for a little bit of extra healing through life siphoning. The damage is kinda worthless. We're not running this much poison, but we have an auto attack every third and fourth attack in the chain. And the skill 2 in short bow, which when you line a lot of mobs can heal you for like 2k or even more than this. Like when you hit 5 arrows for 5 targets, it's 25 times the life siphon healing, which can be a lot, like close to 3k. Twice as vicious, which is a great skill, giving us higher condition damage, a modifier that you would have most of the fight, like at least once every 20 seconds, and you have it for 10 seconds, so like 50% of the time, we can say. If you're running another option a bit when you're gonna go to, it's much more than that, and it doesn't have even an internal cooldown. So okay, and oppressive superiority for higher condition duration, which we have a lot of bleed duration anyway. 93, that would get it up to 100 and would raise the condition duration for our poison, our burning from torch, everything in general. And light on your feet kinda do the same thing, so it's a little bit on overkill, but it is what it is. Like the other option was going with dire or whatever, but you can go with rapid, like I said, to raise your critical chance, and this can make you sacrifice a little bit of your condition duration to depend on those two traits. But I think having extra condition duration to support your poison and burning is more than just lowering your bleed and count on traits to get it higher. So the bit option now. The other bit I'd like to use that brown bear. I don't call what's its name. I'm naming it a stupid name, so I don't remember the name now. But it's the one you kinda can choose to start with as a ranger. This is the overkill of defense. This is when we are in metas or fighting champions that it's extremely hard to survive because they do crazy damage everywhere. So we can tank ourselves against condition with a condition removal skill, and the skills that give us access to is a healing and defy pain for take no power damage for 3 seconds, and we can heal ourselves and get resistance. And the bit itself is extremely tanky with 52k health and a lot of toughness too. The other bit is a really high toughness, even more than the bear, that make it would tank for us even better, like would aggro better at least, especially if we keep distance. And it's a range bit with a decent damage with some access even to condition, but it is one of the best, if not the best, bit to use for damage. When we merge with the bit, it gives us access to the condition skill, that the beast skill that you should use always, Primal Cry, if you for damage in condition. But it gives us two other skills that do a great amount of damage. Sharpened Spine would work like Sharpened Stone for only 5 stacks. So it will trigger on a single target or multiple target, but only once. The stack will go when it hit one target. And the first skill on 18-second cooldown, that it's 3 targets with 3 hits. This bleed is actually for a single hit, not the 3 hits. But this is not the only option I used. In this build, we don't have a lot of CC to break Defiance Bar. Like I said, we have Entangle, we have Child of Earth trait, we have 2 skills here, and this one only in flanking, but that's it. And we have access to only 1 bit in combat, and this bit doesn't have CC. And this is why the other option that I like to use a lot is Warthog, I guess its name. He himself have a knockdown for 3 seconds, which is a huge Defiance Bar breaker. And when you merge with it, you get the same skill. So now you have access to 2 knockdowns. And you still have some bleed from this skill, which extremely less to compensate for 2 skills that Bristleback give you. But the CC is great. And the skill you control kinda have more value since it's always a condition one. Like this is, it either give you gunk or a poison field or scale. Poison field putting 5 stack of poison every second, and this gunk give you a random condition every second, whatever standing in it, like confusion, burning, stuff like this. And the scale give poison and bleed, if I remember correctly, and weakness when you throw it. So it is decent, but the higher damage from Burst Black and that we can use this and have 10 seconds of Defiance Bar breaking while those skills, and I find it to be enough most of the time at least. So I would like to run Burst Black more than I do with Warthog, but feel free to do that. I also tried the idea of 1 bit for all situation using this big. I think it's called big. Yeah, it's big. To have the heal, the CC to break Defiance Bar, the damage, access to all from them, and he himself has the same skills, as you see. So I wouldn't need to use Bear and go extremely defensive. And his skills are defensive, like the Healing Seed. This one, keep removing condition, applying ignoration. But I find it to be not enough. I needed the Defy Bane in some situation, and the lose of damage was unjustifiable, like the build felt weaker comparing to how much damage you can have from something like Bristleback. So you enter the fight, have in your mind, can you do it full damage or would you need the survivability? You would get the feeling of the build with time and an understanding of the different situations. The extremely hard situation, you would use the Bear, and all other situation you would never change Bristleback. Our other skills, we run Trolling Wind for healing, the greatest and the highest value of skill healing for Ranger probably, especially that it go well with Child of Earth, the boss on 20-second cooldown. Trolling Wind is great, of course, for all game mode. It is the best healing skill for Ranger. And Doliac stands for access to stability, save us a lot of damage, 33% on condition and power damage for 6 seconds, so it can make you a little bit more tanky. And it stops chill, immobilize, cripple, it removes them and stops them from applying to you, which great because chill actually, like in places Bajora's marshes, you get a lot of chill from Sanso's Vanguard, and chill will make your skills come off cooldown slower. So to have something defensive against this is actually can do a little bit of good to your fighting and your damage itself. Sharpened Stone, the greatest skill for damage in Ranger. Quickening Zephyr, because access to quickness can make us hit much more, have better damage, and it's a second stun break. When we talked about having 2 stun breaks, because having 2 stun breaks make you switch between them, like you can use aggressively, like in melee with merging with your bait, you use Doliac stuns, you trigger all your damage using Fire Field and jump into it, trigger from Fire Aura. The mobs hitting you, but since you have Doliac stuns, you hit them for less. And when they try to CC you, you have stability. But now you're trying to get out, but you get CC'd. So you get cleaved by mobs. No, you have another stun break to start kiting with it. And this is the idea of having two stun breaks. If you're the other way around, use Quickening Zephyr to trigger your skill faster and like hit a lot of mobs at the same time, or do something like Primal Cry too fast, and you get CC. Now, you don't have stability, you stand in between mobs, now you have dual stuns to use it, and unmerge, and get out. And this idea keeps you much more safer, and we can use the skill aggressively even. We don't get knocked down and can get up, and all this time we can't hit, use stability, or we hit for extremely faster, applying more damage through quickness. So there are some breaks, the idea of defensive skills, but they can be extremely aggressive too. And the last skill is Entangle, which have a lot of great damage, Defiance bar breaking, it's a conditional removal, it's a low cooldown on 48 seconds. So it's great for all condition, like it's the only skill to use with a condition build. So the gear is exactly like the one I'm using to World vs. World. It is actually my Soulbeast build for World vs. World. It's the same gear. It's full ascended with the condition damage infusion from World vs. World, but you can run to the exotic completely easy. It's Trailblazer, Dire, Trailblazer, Dire, and Dire. It's a mix of Dire and Trailblazer. Enough Trailblazer to get you close to 100%. I was running to 100%, but I changed my short bow, so it's now less. And the old build I was running this trait, Leader of the Pack, but now I'm running this one, so I have higher condition and duration all the time, so I don't care about 100% right now. And my weapons are Dire. Not all infusion actually, some of them expertise, but whatever. Try to get it to like 90% or go for 100 if you want. And my weapon also is short bow is Dire. The back is Trailblazer, the amulet is Trailblazer, and my rings and accessories are full Dire. I use Cryt Rune, I use Agony Malice for Dagger Torch, and Agony Corruption, and Agony Malice for short bow. If you're in a map doing events or whatever and you stack the Corruption, we technically don't die at all, so we keep moving and fighting, but we don't die. So you would have the stack on you, and as long as you're in this map doing meta events or whatever, you would keep the stack Corruption 25, like 250 condition damage extra that work on both weapons. So it feels better than having Malice on Torch, since the short bow itself can do the same amount of damage, and now they both can do higher. And this is why I love the Corruption thing, but it doesn't really work in something like Dungeon, Fractal. The Corruption become useless. So feel free to change the Corruption to something else, but you need to keep the Agony and Agony and Malice here. If you go full Trailblazer, like you don't have to go exactly the same I do my equipment. You can go full Trailblazer, you would have higher duration, but the toughness will even bump more than the Dire. And this is a problem for when you need your bit to aggro for you. We're already too high with 2k. So keep those details in mind. If you go with something like Rapid and Trailblazer, it would be better. So do what suits you, but this is my gear. You don't have to completely go for it. You just need higher toughness, vitality, and put all the left in condition damage and condition duration. But you don't have to go exactly the same I do my equipment. So how do we play this build? Okay, like I said, we're gonna have a different mentality in it. So let me explain. Your primary weapon, if you're trying to solo, or if you're on a lot of mobs that like it's a dangerous situation, not killing one thing or doing hearts, your primary weapon is short bow. Torch dagger considered kind of an extra weapon, and this is why we run Corruption with them. In the previous build, I could go extremely aggressive on melee, since I could switch bits before the nerf. But in this build, we don't switch bits, and we use a damaging bit, so we don't have access to extra healing or techno damage from the 5 So we don't go in and out of the fight. Like in the old video, you'd find me striking a boss, doing burn field stuff, like going for rotation and then kite out easily, fight, and then go in again after that, stuff like this. If at least I see an opening, not completely things I couldn't stand in. But in this build, doing this, you can't recover. The idea of meleeing a boss, you could get cleaved, simply at least, even if he's aggroing to your bit. But you have only this access to this heal skill, would give you about 8 or 9k, close to 9k heal, and that's it. How do you keep healing? Even if you're hit by any other thing, you don't. You don't have like, oh god button and you run away. You don't have to the access to more stance, which used to give us regeneration and protection. We are too aggressive now. So this is why we think short bow all the time. And short bow, if you're flanking, have great damage. It's almost equal to the dagger torch. Like dagger torch have higher burst, but after that it's kind of the same. So whenever you keep using skills, it's honestly doesn't make that much difference. That's why we're gonna stay away most of the time, kiting, evading, dodging, running around the mobs, stuff like this, and trying to force them to aggro to our pit. Your rotation in general is usually engaging with your mount, but whatever, if you're inside the fight, I would simply, usually for convenient, leap to the mobs, getting quickness, using this skill 2, 4. Well, of course I use this off cooldown even when I'm not fighting. It's have 30 seconds and 24 only for the cooldown. And you cleave them by using this. You enter, you immediately use 7 primal cry, trigger it on all mobs using this skill, and manage those skills aggressively as you want, but always keep a way out. Okay, I would usually use quickness aggressively in Dolic stance, except in really much CC from mobs, like doing a lot of it. I would use Dolic stance and immediately unmerge, kiting, and keep hitting from far. Okay, when you go to the short bow, like dagger, this skill your bit do the poison, and on short bow this skill your bit do the bleed. So when you merge, you do the bleed and you do the poison. So try to use this skill either to break defense bar or use it only when you merge it, so you would put the bleed, not your bit. But the rotation for short bow is kinda obvious. I use this skill to dodge and take swiftness, like moving backward. It's better for kiting. But other than that, those skills for breaking defense bar, this one for damage if you're merged, and you only use those 2 skills. The other skills, like I said, breaking defense bar or don't use. This one for dodge, like kiting away, so if you're away and you don't need to, don't use it. You only keep using those 2. And this is it for the rotation, or how to think in the build. So that's it for the build guide, and I hope you like it, and I will see you in the next build.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go, and they come so easily. Tell me what it is about you that I can't forget, but you're breaking down my walls again. Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling?